Welcome to Consciousness Chronicles. It's been a while, my friends, but we have a very special episode for you today. I am here with my beautiful friend Millie America, who is releasing yet another book in her little library of books. Tell us about it, Millie. Show it to us.
Well, this is the author's copy, so it has that stripe. It's No More Bad Soup, a recipe for freedom.
Yay! Well, just for those of you that don't know Millie, she's an intuitive guide, a story tender, and a weaver of soulful sessions and writing to help others reclaim their inner truth. I'm sorry I stumbled all over that. She's a mother of 8. She blends the mystical with the everyday, offering grounded wisdom, grace, and grit. From her mountainside home in Puerto Rico, she listens deeply, loves boldly, and serves truth that nourishes the soul. That right there. It's you all the way, baby.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
So tell me, because the title's very interesting. What was the inspiration for No More Bad Soup?
I went into hiding pretty much last year after taking my ex-husband to court to leave with my little guys, my daughter and my son, to live in Florida from North Carolina. And it became a shitstorm. And so my whole life changed. Everything about it. I had left thinking that I would go get them after the court and go back to my old job that I started with my second husband. It didn't pan out that way. So in the midst of all that, I met a beautiful Irish man. He walked through my front door to see a friend of mine that was visiting from Portugal. And we started dating, and shortly thereafter, we had a fallout, a very big misunderstanding. And we went out on one last date so he can come get his stuff and, and I could move on. But a dear friend of mine said, you need to give this man a chance because you're doing exactly what you've always done, is run the opposite direction. And maybe you just need to sit this one out and really look at why you run. So we went to the same restaurant of the first day we met, and he ordered this delicious, great food, and I ordered this chicken soup. And I was sitting there, and the first taste of that soup, it just like curled in the back of my throat. It was tangy and it was acidic. It was horrible. And he's watching me, and he tastes and he goes, "Send this shit back." And I go, "No, I'm fine." I keep eating it. And I kept putting salt and pepper and bread, and I would push it away a little bit, then I would bring it back. He's watching this for a half an hour, and I'm not doing it consciously. I am literally trying to absorb and eat and nourish my body with this horrible soup. And the waitress came twice and said, "Is everything okay? It's great." And he's getting a kick out of this. We get in the car, and he says to me, "I've learned a lot tonight about how you live your life. You have lived your life like that bad bowl of soup, putting up, allowing things so you don't make anybody upset. And it really is comical and at the same time kind of sad to witness you endure that kind of agony just not to make anyone in the kitchen upset or the waitress or whatever." And for a minute, I was kind of like taken back. I was like, wrong with him? But we used that after every time I did something that was me trying to reprogram myself. He goes, "How's that soup tasting? How's that bad soup tasting today?" And it was basically the little bit of like saying, where's your boundary? Like, put up a boundary. Send back the bad soup. That's how this book came about. The No More Bad Soup is actually a permission, a declaration, a reclaiming of your soul to send back the things or push back the things that no longer serve you, nourish you, feed you. And the book has all these little stories, part memoir, part stories of observation. And it is about really saying no to the things that no longer feed you. And it was one of those things where when I started writing it, I dove into it. I got off Facebook, I got off social media, and I just went, and it came out. And then the second one, which I finished, is called The Good Soup, which is saying yes to the things in life that you should be saying. So, and at the end of every chapter, there's reflection questions. And I mean, I think it's one of the best projects that I have worked on. I was free because my first book, Erasable, was created 20 years ago. It was used in a court of law to discredit me as a mom and mentally ill or whatever because of my spirituality. This one is more like, you know what? After that, I'm not putting up with things that no longer hurt me. If the worst thing that could happen to you happens, your biggest fear happens, after that, you kind of like have this freedom of going, well, seriously, now go ahead, see what else comes up. Because living under a rock for a year, hiding, it was just, I don't ever want to have to do that again.
The book, thank you for sharing it with me. It's powerful, to say the very least. Your balance of humor and rawness, and such a dichotomy there. How do you balance the playfulness with the pain in the book? I mean, how do you, because I know as you're writing, you're also processing, you're also peeling back the layers of that onion and healing through all the pain.
I should have been a comedian. No. I mean, I should have, but no.
You should.
I should. But I feel that every single experience that happens to you has two sides to it. You could either go to the pits of hell, or you could find out what you need to learn from it and rise from it. And so I try to, even in the moments where something is really crappy, to go, okay, what am I learning? And maybe bring a little bit of dark humor into it. But I think it's part of my personality to process through things and go, all right, I'm done with this, moving on to the next thing. Because if I stay too long in one thing, that's just not who I am. So I have to move through it. And humor is my way of, and it's not deflecting, because I've been accused of spiritually bypassing or deflecting from the pain. No, I feel the pain. I'm moving through. Let's move on to the next thing. And I feel like if people can read something that's a little bit, that weighs a lot, and you can diffuse it with a little bit of humor, it balances. One of the last chapters, I'm not going to say which chapter it is basically lets the person know, the reader, you stuck with me. Thank you so much. You made it. Woo! And it's about imperfections. I explained that because I'm self-publishing this book, I can write every day, all day long. Love it. What I don't like and I get stuck on is like the margins and all the stuff that comes to make a book pretty, and the duplication of words or whatever. And so if you made it that far toward the end of the book and you stuck with me, and yeah, there might be commas out of the way, there might not be a comma, it might be a semicolon, whatever, just thank you for sticking with me, because I don't live in that perfect world anymore. I'm not going to apologize for my writing or making up words, because I do make up a lot of words and I keep adding them to this dictionary of words. Like, oh yeah, malicious is a word now, and bestest is the word, like mostest is the word. So it just, it doesn't underline it anymore, because it knows that that's just the way that I write. So it's about really embracing all parts of you, and that perfect box, that perfection that we're always striving for. No, I lost that. I don't know if that's, so the margins here might not be great. You might have it's a book. It's not, it's done by me, and it's quirky, and it's it has a lot of information, and it's also a journey we get to take together.
That's beautiful. Is there a favorite ritual or recipe or affirmation from the book that you return to often?
Yeah. What soup am I eating today? I really, literally, every time I was writing a chapter, I had to stop and go, how is this serving my soul, writing this chapter? How am I digesting this? Because as you know, I love food. I love the back street foods, the street foods, the nice restaurants. I love food. And I feel that food connects us in a way that it's underrated. I feel that it's not just about sitting down and enjoying a meal because of the food itself. It's about the stories that come through. So for me to write a lot of the chapters and metaphors of what it is to eat food is like, oh, it was not only fun, it was like feeding my soul at the same time.
Mm. Anthony Bourdain was so good at that too. It's
It
it's
was.
it's the slipping into a space where you're unguarded and just relaxed, and so much honesty and wisdom comes through in those moments.
But that's how I write. When I was writing this book, it was about, okay, and I didn't write it in any sequence, which helped. I had different chapters and different parts of my computer that I was grabbing to because I had written them throughout the year. So I had to then figure out, how is this going to flow? So by the time you get to the end, you're saying yes to things that you're not pushing the bad soup away. You're now saying, okay, I'm ready for the good soup.
Mm. What is your intention that the readers take away from this book? What would you really like to sink in?
Especially women, because it's probably written more for women. Give themselves permission to really look at their lives, all aspects of their lives, and recognize where they are tolerating and stop living in that fear and really take ownership of their lives where they can rise above it and go, yeah, this job doesn't serve me anymore. This relationship, I've done everything I can't do it. Not that I want people to just get up and go. You give it your best shot, you do what you can. But if it's a situation, if it's a person, if it's an experience, and you're done and you've done everything you can, why endure it? Why continue to sit there and eat this horrible, horrific, bad food instead of rising and going, can I get another something or other chips with this? I mean, like, really embrace all parts of your life. And, I mean, you and I've talked about this. How many times have we said, yes to things that we should have never even entered, or once we learn the lesson, we just continue doing it over and over and over and expecting a different result.
So true, my dear. So true. If someone's going through a rough patch, what would be the first chapter you'd recommend that they start with?
Oh, you know what? No more leftovers from the past.
I
I'll
love
tell you
it.
why. This was a dream. I just happened to open the page. This was a dream. I dreamt that I met my 18-year-old self in Old San Juan. And it was the day that I actually came when I was 18 years old to meet my father, who I hadn't seen since I was 9 years old. So I found my father and I got on a plane. I had just left home. I wasn't speaking to my mother. And I came to San Juan. And so the dream is my 18-year-old self is sitting in this cafe. And the 57-year-old enters, and we have this long conversation without telling her what to do because she wasn't going to listen to anybody, but just guiding her in a way that she could see that her life feels really heavy right now. But you know what? Just take it easy and absorb and enjoy. And then the following chapter is my future self in meditation at 75, coming back and talking to the 57-year-old. So sometimes you have to go to the past and really talk to that young child or that young woman or that young girl who got you here, but stumbled and doubted herself and is traumatized. And I think if you could start anywhere, is probably this love letter to my younger self.
That's so beautiful. You know what this book reminds me of? It's like an oracle. Now, indulge me if you would.
Okay.
Take your book
Okay. Wait,
and
like
just
literally?
literally
Okay.
physically take your book, and I want you to sit with the intention of what is it that the collective needs to hear right now. All you ladies out there, what do you need to hear? And flip through that book, and wherever it stops, please share that with us.
Chapter 46. No more poison in the pot.
Oh,
There's a kind of pain we don't talk about enough. The pain of being in a relationship with someone whose addiction isn't to alcohol or drugs, but to sex, to porn, to secrecy. The kind of addiction that doesn't always look chaotic on the outside, but erodes everything sacred on the inside. This chapter is for the ones who felt it but didn't have the words, who stayed longer than they wanted to, who tried to rationalize the behavior, explain it away, or absorb it as their fault. So let me say this now with love and fire. You are not the reason they can't regulate their nervous system. You are not the reason they seek dopamine in pixels or strangers. You are not the reason they are chasing the next high instead of cultivating intimacy with you. You are not broken. You are just served a toxic dish that was never meant for your soul.
full body chills on that. That hits. That hits a heavy truth right there.
And I, sitting in sessions with women, so many, as we start having, conversation, they talk about their relationships and they won't say it out loud. And as soon as, we open up that vault, I can't tell you the amount of women that are in relationships that are so, there's no intimacy. And I thought it was just me. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought, a sexless marriage was okay and was normal or whatever. And I realized that is not normal. That is not a normal relationship. So I can't believe that that's a chapter of all the chapters. That's the one that opened up to. But I feel that it gives women permission to look at that. That part of their lives where they're blaming themselves for the lack of intimacy or communication or the gaslighting that comes with it.
Wow. I'm sure you've probably shared this with a few people so far. What kind of early feedback have you gotten on the book? Has it already started changing lives?
Started changing lives, but I sent it to a friend of mine who is an author. We exchange daily, and she lives in London, and she got the first draft, like first raw draft, and I said, I need to see if this is actually worth something. And I knew she was going to be super honest with me. And within a few days, she sent me this beautiful message saying, this is a declaration. This is raw. It's a manual for life, especially for women. Don't even doubt yourself. Just get it out there. And I hadn't even had set up questions yet. Like, it was just as raw as you can. And I added more after. And yesterday she asked me, when is the book coming? I said June 12th. And she's like, good, about time. So yeah. And I sent it to another friend of mine who he's in the breath work and he loved it as well. So I didn't really share with that many people because I kept changing it, and I was like, I'm gonna give this until the end, but it's done. It's coming out, and I had that moment, Linda, that happened, and I know you did too when your book was coming out. I had a moment last week where the anxiety, knowing that it was coming out on the 12th, I started having that panicky, and my partner Brian said, okay, let's just sit with this. And he had read chapters, but he hadn't read them in order. And he hadn't read all the chapters. So I said, it's the first few chapters in the book that have me a little. He goes, oh, let's sit here. So brought the book. We sat on the sofa, and he read it. It's beautiful Irish accent. He read it to me, the first few chapters. And after each chapter, he would close it up and go, what was so wrong about that? And then I would say, I don't know, but you can, if you want to do the audio for it. It sounds a lot better when it's coming from your mouth, not my head, And he was like, there is nothing wrong with this book. If you take those chapters that you're complaining about, it would be just a regular book. It wouldn't be about you. And people want to feel your experience because they can go, oh my God, I feel heard. I feel understood. I was like, well, maybe I could, no, you're not going to change it. This is the way it's supposed to be. This book is great. There's nothing wrong with it. But, people that love you will say a lot of things. Like I walk and he goes, and he said that he goes, hey, I wasn't throwing smoke up your ass. I was just literally saying the truth. This is a really good book. Don't change a thing. Okay. But
It is. It is so good. And I am so privileged to have been able to have a sneak peek at it too. And I'm equally as excited for the good soup to come out. Can you give us a sneak peek into what you're cooking up next?
With the good soup?
Yes, ma'am.
I love so the good soup has 90 chapters, and you could pick one out for 90 days because I believe that it takes 30 to 90 days to change a habit. So the book is designed to just read a chapter a day for 90 days and see, you just go into that trajectory of finding joy. I have to say that my favorite chapter, and it's one that the only reason I want the book to come out is because of this chapter. The art of the dip. Did I share this with you?
No, please.
So my grandmother here on the islands, when I used to come in the summer, they lived in this huge apartment by San Juan on the 15th floor. And my mother would leave me with her. She was elderly, and I was like 11 to 12 years old. And we did this every summer for most of my early childhood. And so she would say to me, Mia, everybody's gone. Let's go have ourselves a snack. And my grandmother loved her coffee around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Café con leche. And she had little crackers or bread. We have a special bread here in Puerto Rico, it's pan sobao, which is sweet and soft. And it's just like you put butter on that. And so she showed me the art of the dip. Basically, there's an art to this. You have to know exactly how long to have the bread in there before it actually falls apart. And so she would show me just enough. Got to absorb. I mean, it was like meditation. She was not a big eater, but boy, she loved her snacks and her sweets. And so the chapter is about the art of the dip, not confusion with the art of diving into something. Dipping is very different. When you dip into it, you're being cautious, but you're also being mindful. When you dive, you take it all in. So how many of us are actually experiencing diving and then saying, I want to do this, instead of tiptoeing and dipping slowly and knowing when it's enough that you're going to fall apart or keep on going, or it's going to be good. So that whole chapter, as I was writing it, I was cracking up because I was like, oh my God, my grandmother would love this chapter. Because I was eat that day that I wrote that, I love my café con leche in the afternoon. And now that I'm back in this island, I take my little bread and put butter in it. And I sit there around 3 o'clock. He has his tea. I have my coffee. And he goes, I love when you dip that just enough that it doesn't soak it. And I go, oh no, there's an art to this. That's how I came back to my desk and I wrote, and I go, you don't understand. There's a huge art to this. And he's like, really? And I go, mm-hmm. If you go too far, it's going to fall and you got to get that stuff from the bottom. But you just have to know exactly when. And it's just like everything in life. You just have to dip, not dive. And so that chapter, I almost I almost gave the book, instead of the good soup, the art of the dip, but it really isn't about that, but that's just one of the chapters. So
Oh,
I love
I love it.
it.
Working title. There you go.
Yeah.
So tell us where people can get this book, and above and beyond that, how else can we support your work? What other things do you have going on in offerings?
I'm still doing sessions, and now when I do sessions, it isn't just like on video. I do a session, you get the Zoom recording, and you also get an extensive report with it, which helps tremendously. You'll get the book. You can get the book at a cheaper price on the 12th, June 12th, next week. And I'm working on still creating the edible soul. This is something that still very much in my heart. Brian and I are also about, right during the summer, after the summer, we're going to start our podcast called Love Warriors, which is about relationships, and have guests on from all walks of life that are there for modalities and how relationships, coexist. Yeah, and I have the third book that I started, and it's called The Edible Soul, but this one is more geared to conscious food and conscious eating. Not in a technical way, but the behavior that we give to our foods and why we do the things we do is absorbing everything. That if you look at the way you eat and the way, and you know this better than anybody, if you look at the way you eat, or the way that what you put into your body, this is a lot about the things you're missing or what you're replacing food with. And it's more of a technical book, but also having all these stories about foods from all walks of life. And, so that's still in the process.
Mm, so much exciting stuff. Now the book's on Amazon. Is that where we find it?
Amazon.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a live on the 12th. I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna do a Zoom or a live where people can join and we can talk about the book, and but I'm gonna have some kind of a party that day just to get it moving.
Oh,
Because
I
you
love it.
have like 2 days or 24 hours to make it to a what is it?
Bestseller.
Bestseller. And yeah, so
Mm, I love
I'm
that.
excited. I'm excited because it's a continuation from Erasable, but it's not. It's lighter. It's lighter, and it's also has some good information.
Oh, it's going to be helpful for so many people. Is it possible to purchase it in advance? Can I go on Amazon and sign up for it now and then have it delivered to me right on the 12th? Do you
I
know?
don't know. The reason I don't know is because I'm waiting. This is not the cover color, so I had to go back, and they've had to fix the color. And until I give that approval, it's really not even on. And I know you can get it, but you might not get it at the same price. So I don't really know. I'll post it if that after this week. I'll post it so people can actually do that. But I know you probably can get the ebook, the Kindle version immediately that day, probably for 99 cents. So
Yeah.
for those who have Kindle.
Oh, I don't care if I pay more. I just want to have it on the 12th.
Thank you. You're so sweet. I love you.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much, Millie, for sharing and being vulnerable and authentic with everyone out here. I know this book is going to be amazing, as will the follow-up, The Good Soup. So thank you, my dear.
Thank you, darling. I love you guys.
Bye, everybody.